episode of the Amateur Hour Podcast. Nico is joining me today.
How you guys doing today?
And my name is Jacob, where we bring back the NHL content. And it all started on November 11th when Marc-Andre Fleury robbed Nick Petan of what would have been the game-tying goal for the Toronto Maple Leafs if they were losing 3-2 to the Golden Knights with less than 4 minutes to play in the third period. This resulted in a 6-game losing streak for the Leafs, which got Mike Babcock fired. And then it spiraled into allegations against Babcock for making Mitch Marner write a list of the hardest working players on the team. And then Babcock revealing Mitch Marner's list to the entire team. And then it got even more out of control when Akim Aliu claimed that the current Calgary Flame coach, Bill Peters, had performed some racist remarks to Akim Aliu in the locker room for the AHL's Rockford Ice Dogs in the 2009-2010 season. And then more players, old Red Wing players, started coming at Babcock for basically being an asshole. Some Leafs players talked about that. And then we found out that when Akim Aliu played for the Colorado Eagles in the NHL, a trainer had blackfaced and dressed up as Aliu for Halloween in 2011. They had just issued an apology today about that. And then the most recent domino to fall in just simply Marc-Andre Fleury saving or robbing Nick Petan. I guess there's more to it than that, but that's how I'm going to play it off. That save has now resulted in, I guess, Jim Montgomery getting fired as his position of the head coach of the Dallas Stars. And I think you can kind of correlate all these events.
You can. It all started from there, man. It's common in all sports that all it takes is one moment to just completely start something like this. So, honestly, the fact that you brought it back to that one point is actually really interesting.
If Fleury doesn't rob Nick Petan and that game goes to 3-3, goes to OT, the Leafs win, Babcock might still have his job. There would be no Marner allegations against Babcock for making him write the list of hardest working players. Without that, Akim Aliu probably wouldn't have had the courage to, claim that Bill Peters had made racist remarks. And I mean, I'm sure they're truthful from what I've seen. Mm-hmm. But Akim Aliu probably doesn't come out with that. And then without that, no players start attacking Babcock. There are old Red Wing players. There are Leafs who talked about Babcock. And then Gary Bettman had invoked a no tolerance policy on abuse or racism because Calgary Flames players talked about physical abuse from Bill Peters. Mm-hmm. And then now the Dallas Stars have said that they fired Jim Montgomery due to unprofessional conduct. So there is a correlation.
There is a correlation, man, 100%.
What did you make of this when it first broke out that they fired Jim Montgomery for unprofessional conduct?
Honestly, I was just not necessarily caught off guard. I think a lot of teams were going to be under very tight sort of like inspections from the NHL, from their whole organizations. The part that caught me off guard is that nobody knows what it's for yet. And like even the players have no idea what it's about. Mm-hmm. I remember Jamie Benn was in an interview talking about, he goes, I'm in the same shoes as the rest of you guys. Like I just want to know what happened. He goes, like, as soon as I know what happened, I'll make a comment, but like I have no idea. So it's just one of those things that like, if Dallas fired him, they must have done it because they obviously found something, whether it's through racist remarks or like physical abuse, is anything within their sort of views that they don't accept as an organization. It's why they let him go. So I'm kind of curious what comes from this. It's interesting how it all started because of the Mike Babcock thing. I 100% agree with that. Whether or not it was Nick Petan's breakaway is kind of...
I'm really simplifying.
Yeah,
there's obviously more
but like, exactly. But I think it's like you see it in all sports. In Serie A, there's a huge thing because of racism. After, I can't remember who it was that really started it, but somebody just came out.
Balotelli, Lukaku.
Yeah, and like that's what I'm saying. So like that started it, but like now it's sort of blown up to like mass proportions. You see it with the U.S. women's like soccer, where they were fighting for just equal pay and all that stuff, and now you have Megan Rapinoe, who's like the face of it all, and like you see it within all sports, and you see it pretty consistently now that when one person speaks up, there's just a flood behind it of people that like to speak up as well. So as soon as you sort of heard people start talking about Mike Babcock, it was almost inevitable that something like this was going to happen to a coach currently in the NHL.
I guess you're right, but to this degree, that's insane. For like, have you like seen what apparently Bill Peters has done to Akeem
The
Aliu?
Bill Peters one is the one that really scares me because that one's extremely.
Well, I mean, there was apparently like basically a racist rampage against Akeem Aliu, who played in the AHL in the 2009-2010 season under Bill Peters, and then apparently the Ice Hogs captain Jake Dowell confronted Bill Peters about it in his office, and then Peters called Aliu to meet him in his office about it, and Aliu was, I guess, expecting an apology, but Bill Peters said he only talked about Aliu needing to play different music in the locker room, and he made some racist remarks about the music that Aliu listens to, and no apology at all. And it took a big thing like Mitch Martin talked about Mike Babcock's list for Aliu to come out and talk about this, because this is a guy who struggled in his NHL career. They only had 2 seasons. They only played like 5 games 1 year, and I like not many games. I think under 10 in both seasons he played for the Calgary Flames. But this is a guy fighting for a spot, and you see how coming out speaking against racism can really affect your career. I guess Colin Kaepernick's the most prominent example, but where you can really struggle to progress in your career if you come out against these coaches, and maybe people are coming against you. But Akeem Aliu now has decided that this is the right time to come out, and it takes a lot of courage to do that, because it obviously during your career you're a little scared about the repercussions against your career, but now he decided this is the best time, and obviously full support from us for Akeem Aliu.
Yeah.
Now we're in the stage where Dallas have said that Jim Montgomery was due to unprofessional conduct. Apparently it didn't involve any past or present players. It apparently does not involve a criminal investigation, but it's also not involved with Gary Bettman saying that there's a zero tolerance policy for inappropriate or abusive behavior. And like you said, Dallas Stars players are confused, like Jamie Benn. Ty Sagan even came out and said no one was expecting this to happen. But, I mean, more information is going to surface by the hour. This is what we're at right now. It's a tough question, but what do you think this might pertain to?
It would have to be something to do with, like, personal life, like, just some interesting choices in, like, that sense, you know what I mean? Like, there's been times where, like, you'll see players get fined for doing stupid stuff, like going out to a nightclub and doing something like that. Like, you've seen Kuznetsov currently got suspended from, like, Russian sports for the stuff that he did, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for players like that, they kind of get a longer leash, like, as much as...
Better players get a longer
exactly.
leash.
Like, Kuznetsov, like, any other player, you might have been kicked off the team, you know what I mean? Like, he would have been bought out, something like that. He would have just been completely disregarded of his contract. With coaches, I feel like they get a little bit less of a leash, especially if, like, it must be something huge in his personal life, or maybe just sort of some personal choice that he made that was wrong, whether it was like a racist comment that he made to someone outside of the organization or just something like that. Again, if they're saying it's nothing to do with the players and stuff like that, he must have been a pretty good coach. He was definitely respected by the players, because it's not like any of the players were just like, oh, like, he's gone, whatever, like, we can still do fine without him. They're more so worried about what's kind of going on with him type thing. It's more so the vibe I'm getting from players, and more so just curious what's going on within the organization. So it must be something extremely personal that probably came out that the Dallas Stars just don't agree with and just don't want to align with type thing. What do you kind of think about it?
I mean, it can't be hockey related. It can't be player related, because Dallas Stars, they lost in double overtime of Game 7 to the eventual Stanley Cup champions, the St. Louis Blues, in the Western semis. And, one goal and they could have been a conference finalist. And then this season, they're in a playoff spot right now. They're in a wild card spot as it stands, but can very easily move into the top 3. So it's not hockey related. And the fact that it's confusing to me that it's not involved with a player or a past player, because it must have been some remarks that he made. Maybe it was in public somewhere. Maybe it was behind the scenes to another staff member, not a player. But how could something so huge happen if to fire him, but didn't come out to press or media? How have Dallas managed to keep this so covered and hidden? That's the confusing thing to me, because
Usually stuff like this gets out there.
Usually it's out there first, and then the team kind of scrambles, and there's an apology statement, whatever. Like let's bring up the Akeem Aliu thing with the Colorado Eagles, where a trainer black-faced and dressed up as Aliu for Halloween, and Aliu, who came later, apparently he was told to come later in the party, so they maybe didn't see it, but he did see it, and he was just in shock of how somebody could even conceive of doing something like that. So. But that's where a situation where it came out, then Colorado scrambled. The Colorado Eagles, that is. They scrambled. They had an apology to Aliu, talked about it doesn't coincide with the values of the franchise. But for this, Dallas found out and fired him before any media attention. And there is still no media involvement in this story. We're so in the dark on this one. It's unbelievable. I mean, we'll see what happens and how it turns out. But right now, I'm going to give kudos to Dallas for handling this the way they are, because nothing is out. They are handling it, and they are probably going through like every single variable, every single part of it before they issue a statement. They want to have a full understanding of the situation, and then it will come out. But they're doing a great job. I mean, I guess we'll see. From what I know right now, that's how I feel.
Would you feel that they kind of need a full kind of understanding of the situation before firing Jim Montgomery, though?
Yes, to a degree, but like they're still prolonging the reason. They're being very vague. Like the quote is unprofessional conduct. That's really all we have on the matter. So they must have had a decent understanding, but before they bring it to the media, they want the full understanding, because usually the story breaks and you scramble, and you just, without knowing a lot, you have to come out with a statement right away, to a degree. And in this, they're waiting to issue the full statement in its full capacity. So, I mean, when that breaks, it's going to be like a huge reveal. It's going to be, like I said, this is a domino effect.
Yes.
And I think this is another piece in that. This is another domino falling. What's it going to hit next? Are we going to
Well, because like
more?
If you look at all the issues that have been covered right now, you sort of have just the Mike Babcock thing was more so people just didn't agree with the way he coached and kind of his personality of the thing. And I think that's a lot of what people disagreed with. Then you have the racism thing, and then you hear the things about physical abuse. But what this Jim Montgomery thing might be is something completely out of those three or four things.
I don't think it can be as serious as the Bill Peters thing.
No. I don't think it's as serious as that.
If I were to guess, it might have been involved, like some racism involved, but it might have been one of those where it's an older guy saying it, and he doesn't understand what's wrong with what he's saying.
Yeah.
Not that I'm condoning it.
No.
I'm not condoning it anyway, but a lot of situations, like Donald Sterling, they don't understand what's wrong with what they're saying. But like, if you're more socially conscious, you hear it and you go like, "Oh my goodness! Like, I can't believe he said that." But the person's saying it, so maybe in this situation, it's all speculation right now from us. But the person saying it doesn't fully understand that, and then the team kind of jumps on that. Like the person on the team jumps on it and says, "Okay, well, like that's not okay." But I have no idea. I mean, if no players even understand, I mean, like I really
that's the part that throws me off. Like it could be like, I mean, maybe the players are kind of hiding it a little bit too. I doubt it. I honestly think they're just completely in the dark about it as well. But it could be one of those things where like, they know the character of their coach. They know how he is and stuff like that. So when they hear that he gets fired and they're genuinely surprised, they're just kind of like, what is it that our coach did wrong? Like, we don't understand. And obviously they all know, because Dallas released that it had nothing really to do with the hockey side of things, whether it was players from now or the past or just the way that they were playing. Because, I mean, they were in a playoff spot even when they fired him. But the players are probably just like, what is it in his personal life that must have happened? Like, because that's really what it comes down to.
It might be a personal life thing. It might be just something he said. But again, if it's personal life, how did the team find out before any media outlet?
Yeah, and
it's astonishing how it's almost 2020, and they have kept this away from any
It's crazy.
outlet.
Like, if they got in a fight, media would have known. Like, if like Jim Montgomery was on the streets fighting somebody would have found out. You know what I mean? Like, if he was like at a strip club, like doing blow, whatever the fuck it is, like somebody would have figured it out. Like, somebody would have seen that. Somebody would have like reported on it. But like, this is so like in the dark that like no media even has like a sniff of what it might be. Like I haven't seen anything as far as speculations or anything like that goes towards Jim Montgomery, and that's the part that is crazy to me, that Dallas saw it. And even what a lot of teams will do is they may know about a situation that happened with a coach previously, but they won't do anything. Like they'll be like, okay, like until it comes up to the media,
that's
like, you're the coach.
That's
like, you're going to be our coach, and like that's why I'm understanding it. And it's like, but Dallas was like, no, you know what, like. We don't agree with this because our values say we don't agree with it. We're not going to wait for the media to tell us that we shouldn't agree with it. We're going to do it because we actually don't. And that's why I give mad respect to them. Considering what the situation is, you never know. Maybe it comes out and it's not actually as horrible as we thought, and they could have done something differently. Like, I don't know. I don't really know. I don't really see what it could be.
You bring up a good point that teams like to hold on to these kind of stories and then, like, you know, say just continue coaching, like, we'll keep it quiet. Do you think there's a potential that this is from the Jim Montgomery situation has transpired from an event that happened a while ago, not in like the last week, and that now that all this is coming up, like Gary Bettman talking about the no tolerance and teams being scrutinized for, you know, coaching behavior, do you think that they've now kind of gone, okay, we don't want to risk that story from X amount of time ago resurfacing right now?
Yeah.
We got to get rid of you now so that if that resurfaces, like, we don't look like an awful franchise.
It could be like that too, because then it could, if you look at it that way, like it could kind of be a respect thing, as weird as it sounds, for Jim Montgomery. So it's like, you know what? We're going to get rid of you right now instead of all this stuff coming up in the future and your name and our name being tarnished. We'll just get rid of you. We'll do it in a way that nothing negative gets out about you. We're just going to let people know that you just didn't handle yourself in a professional way in the past, or in a professional way in whatever time. That way you go off with your career. Nobody's going to slander your name. Your name's not going to be as tarnished as it would be like Mike Babcock right now.
Yeah.
Because look at him right now. He's getting like just roasted by like all types of players. Like even Chris Chelios was roasting him, saying that like you got benched in the, what was it? The what's that game that they played? That outdoors game. I don't know why I can't think.
Oh, the Winter Classic?
The Winter Classic. I think it was in the Winter Classic. He got benched, and he's like, I was just drinking beers on the bench the whole time. Like, my kids were giving me beers. And, like, it's just stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, so they're just kind of like, we're going to let you go now. We're going to do our best to make sure your name doesn't get tarnished and to make sure our organization still looks good. And we're going to come out of this sort of not the best of both worlds, but just more so as
the best of the bad situation.
Yeah, the best of the bad situation.
Okay, the way you put it there seems pretty logical to me. It might have been, I think it's a mutual agreement on this that, you know, the Dallas Stars kind of laid it out, and I think now that I've put the idea in my head, I'm going to sway towards this isn't something that just happened, because of everything going on right now, it would be astonishing for me for a coach to not be walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
You know, like, if this happened like a few months ago, it would make more sense. But if it happened in this week, this is a really like not scary time, because, you know, you're under investigation for your own actions, per se. You know, it's your own actions that you're gonna be punished for.
You're on a tightrope.
But you're on a tight. You have to realize. You're, like I said, you're walking on eggshells right now. I don't think that this could have happened this week to something as serious as this happening. I think you're right. It's an older story that Dallas have gone, you know what, man? Like, maybe it didn't even happen with Dallas.
Yeah.
Because the players are so confused. Maybe this was in his past coaching history.
I really don't think it was anything that happened with the players. I think it could have just been something that happened within the organization, even, like,
or just personal life. I don't know. Yeah. But if I'm guessing right now, I think it's an older, whether it was with Dallas or not, I don't know. But I think it's happened like at least a month ago, and like earliest was a month ago.
Yeah.
Maybe even further. And Dallas have gone, okay, like, we're gonna save both of us a little bit of our blushes here. If this ever gets surfaced, like, we're just going to part ways right now. That makes the most sense to me, based on what's going on in the hockey world right now, because this is a seismic shift in the hockey culture right now. This is incredible what's going on.
Do you think there's anything else that's going to kind of pop up?
I was thinking about this before, because if all of this, like, this is about a decade more than a decade. The Babcock stuff goes back to the late 2000s. This is about 15 to 20 years of allegations surfacing right now, and there's only been like 2 or 3 major things pop up. This is the tip of the iceberg, I think, because if only this is showing right now, there is going to be a lot underwater, and we're only seeing the surface right now.
How much of it do you think comes out this year?
I think, like I said earlier, I think this is just another domino piece falling into something else. I think something else is going to come up from this. Maybe there's another name tied to the Jim Montgomery story. Maybe there's more names tied to the Bill Peters story. Like Akeem Aliu is meeting with the NHL right now. Maybe there's other parts to play in that puzzle. Maybe there's going to be more, talking about the personality of a coach, like with Babcock. Maybe somebody else will come out about Babcock. Maybe there'll be more stories on other coaches. I think this is the surface. This is like the one cockroach on the wall. There's 100 behind the wall. You know what I mean? Tip of the iceberg. That's on it. Like, you can't tell me any other way. There's no way that this is all coming out. Like, all this is just going to happen right now. And it's only like these few things. If this is like the Babcock stuff goes back to 2016 was Marner. It goes back to like 2008 with the Red Wings, like guys like Chelios. I don't know if he was there, but like it goes back far. And the Bill Peters thing goes back to 09-10, and the Colorado Eagles thing was Akeem Aliu. It goes back to 2011. This is just the beginning. Like, this is going to be an insane year for hockey, for the entire hockey world.
Yes,
that's how I feel about this.
I think there's going to be a lot of things that come out as far as coaches go, and I think eventually it might even get to the players of how certain captains may have acted, certain players on a team may have acted.
That's what I mean. Like there could be more tied to with the Bill Peters one, it's been confirmed that the coach of the Ice Hogs, the team that Akeem Aliu was on, went to Bill Peters to talk about it with him. I mean, he confronted him, so I'm sure he kind of was not condoning the. He was talking about.
Understood that he was being racist.
Yeah, he was just, you're being racist. Like, you can't do that. But then didn't do anything. So I don't know. Maybe it'll be a player next. Maybe it'll be GMs. Maybe it'll be owners. Who knows?
Well, because the thing is when you get players start taking shots at coaches have egos. A lot of them do. Yeah. A lot of them may come back at players being like, hey, man, like, I did that. Or, like, you're accusing me of this, but, like, you did this. You know what I mean? Like, you'll see something like that.
A lot of pointing fingers. Maybe, I don't know, maybe this goes to a different sport. Maybe this gives somebody else the courage in another sport to come speak out about something they've suffered from, because again, a lot of stuff gets swept under the rug in in all sorts of sports. I don't know, maybe there's some more. There's no secret there's been racism involved in sports since the beginning, and it's still present today. And for guys like Aliu who can't really speak out because it could tarnish their career. Maybe there are guys who now feel comfortable coming out because of Akeem Aliu. And there's more to everything. This isn't, the dominoes will continue to fall, and this is just another piece in that. And we'll see how it pans out. I don't really have anything else to say. The most logical explanation about Jim Montgomery is this is not a recent situation. They're revisiting something from a long time ago. They're trying to save the Dallas Stars. They're trying to save face for themselves, and they're trying to save Jim Montgomery to a certain degree until media's got to grab this at some point. Somehow, some way, something will surface from this, and we will get a full story. But until then, this is all we got. That's my prediction for Montgomery.
And I'm with you on that, Jacob. I think Dallas understands. I think Dallas respects Jim Montgomery, and they think overall he's probably a pretty good person, which is why they don't want to let all the details of the story become so public. And I also think it's a little bit of their kind of looking out for their own interest as well as an organization. And because of that, I think it must have been something from the past. They're revisiting it now. They kind of got together and they're like, this is probably the best thing we can do for both of our futures. And they came to that mutual decision, and that's sort of what happened. Sometimes
it is difficult because, like you said, maybe they do respect him as a person, but this former action is catching up to him. And again, not condoning the action. Everybody's responsible for their own actions, whether it be recent or whether it be in the past. Everybody's responsible for their actions, but I mean, it must be tough to kind of part with a guy, where you don't see any issues, but you have to understand the greater picture. And
it sucks because it's not like good people make bad decisions or good people do bad things sometimes, you know what I mean? But sometimes those bad things are just pretty intense, and
it's too much.
It's too much, and there's consequences, you know what I mean? So it's probably one of those things, and he's receiving the consequences, but obviously, or not obviously, but it seems like they still have respect for him. So at least this is the way I'm kind of viewing it. The respect for him is going to go a long way, as they're going to keep his name from not being as tarnished as it could have been.
And we'll end it there. What basically, we'll sum it up by all starting with this small little piece, the small domino piece of Marc-Andre Fleury robbing Nick Petan in the dying minutes of the Vegas Golden Knights game against the Maple Leafs. And it's gotten to the point where Jim Montgomery has been fired for unprofessional conduct. We'll see what is the next domino to fall. We'll have updated stories when we get them. We'll have updated insight when we get them. But until then, thank you, Nico, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Follow @AmateurPC on Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube and come back soon for the daily content.